Hey guys, my name is Cody Barton. Welcome to my channel where I talk to you all about real estate, business, and systems. And in this video, should you buy or should you rent? So what I'm gonna do in this video is tell you a little bit more about this particular property, and stay tuned to the end of the video where I'm gonna break down the numbers on what I bought the deal for, what I'm into it for, and now what I'm going to be able to rent this property for and what that cash flow is going to look like. Now, an understanding that there's no silver bullet for whether yes, you should definitely buy or yes, you should definitely rent, but in this case, you know, if you're getting a good deal on a property, you should definitely buy. And I'm gonna go over some of the key points, things that you're getting as far as benefits when you buy a property. Number one is when you do buy a property, if you're getting a good deal on it and buying it under market value. If that property is worth $200,000, you're buying it for $150,000, $160,000 or less, you know, that would be a good deal. Number two is when you buy that property, you're making a payment towards your PITI. And what that stands for is your principal, your interest, your taxes, and your insurance. So say if your total mortgage payment is $1,200, part of that's going towards your principal payment. The next part is the interest, which is why the banks are the richest and the tallest buildings in town. And then you have the government, of course, which takes their share, which is your taxes. And then the final portion is your insurance. And so what's great about that is as you're making your monthly payments, you're paying some of that principal down every single month. The other part where you're paying interest to the bank, where that may be a negative, but one of the benefits of paying that interest is you can write that off at the end of the year. Obviously consult with your financial, your CPA to make sure that you have that, taken care of the right way. So one of the other benefits that you have when you own a property is you can live in that property. Say you live there for a year, 2 years. Then when you go to move, instead of selling that home, what you can do is turn it into a rental. That principal that you're paying down every month as you're living there, you turn it into a rental property. Now you have a tenant that's paying down your mortgage. Over time, that 30-year loan that you probably have on your property, they're gonna be making those payments and paying that down. So they're paying off that asset for you. And then if you bought it right, then you're gonna be able to rent it out at an amount that's gonna be higher than your payment. The mortgage on this particular home is $1,190 a month. And the rent rate for this particular property is going to be going for about $1,600 a month. So it's just a little over $400 a month in gross cash flow. Thinking about it, if you do this every year, every couple years, if you're buying a home every couple years, you live in it for a little while, then you get ready to move, you save up some money, you move into another home. At that point, you could turn the last one into a rental, you do it again, you do it again, you do it again, and before you know it, you have thousands of dollars of cash flow coming in from the homes that you've kept, and then you needed somewhere to live anyways, so that's what you were doing while you were in the home. All right, so now we're here at the whiteboard where I'm gonna break down for you the acquisition of that property, what the disposition looks like. I mentioned it a little bit, it's going to be a rental property. I'm gonna show you why it's important to buy your home that you're gonna be living in and why that can turn into an asset when you move out of it, and show you the big picture. Okay, so here's what we're looking at, guys. So we have McClellan, which is the street address of the property that we were just at. We were just there. I purchased this property for $196,000, right? I gave the seller $20,000 down, and then I took the loan subject to the existing mortgage. No, I did not assume the mortgage that the previous seller had, but I took that property's title. So I'm on the title of the property. The old mortgage that the seller had stayed in place. I control that mortgage and I'm on the title of the property. I'm the owner of the property. What I'm doing with this particular property, obviously you can decide whatever you want to do with it. Maybe you got a good deal on it, you lived in it for a year or 2 years. You can then at that point decide to sell it, or what I recommend is keeping it as a rental so that you can grow long-term wealth, because over time that mortgage is going to continuously be paid down, like I was saying. So what we're doing on the disposition is a rental property. The rent rate is $1,600 a month in that neighborhood. So that property is going to get rented for $1,600 a month. But what's important here is really looking at the big picture, because yes, that's what I bought it for. You don't really have perspective of what is that property really worth. So I bought this property earlier this year. Right now, as we're recording this, we're in November of 2020. I purchased this property in January of 2020. So at the date that I purchased it, the market value was around $250,000. I put a little bit of money into the property. There's about $90,000, give or take a little bit, in equity in that property. So what that means is if I went to go sell that property tomorrow and somebody bought it for 265 grand, is I would be putting about $90,000 in my pocket. So why is this so important to know is you can go buy a property off the MLS, which means, you know, the multiple listing service where realtors find other properties for sale at market value. But what I did is I got this property off market. This wasn't a property that was for sale to the public. I did marketing to get this property under contract for me to purchase, and then obviously that's why I decided to live there. Was I was like, hey, this is a good enough deal. It's in an area that I am okay to live in. The property isn't my dream home, but what's important about this property is it's a good deal. When I move out of here, I'm gonna be able to cash flow and I'm going to have equity when I leave this property. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you where this deal came from and how we were able to put this together. So essentially what happened was I pulled a list from Batch Leads, which is the data company that we pull all of our lists from, and then we skip traced it in that same system. From that point, what we did was we had one of our virtual assistants from VAHub cold called this data set that we were working, and then what happened was they talked to a homeowner, which was the previous owner of the property on McClellan. They were interested in selling. They didn't have tons and tons of equity where we could buy this deal as a fix and flip, but this deal was able to work as a buy and hold. So I just decided at that point, I'm like, hey, I can live in this property for 6 to 12 months. While I'm there, I could do a little bit of work to the property, fix it up a little bit, and then when I move out of it, it's going to be a good asset because it's going to cash flow and it's going to already have some equity built into it right as soon as I move in. So if you got value from this video, make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you in the next video.